Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to Tour de France 2021. Just came out from Cyanide Studios. I'm really excited to bring this one to you because I'm a long-time Pro Cycling Manager player, but I haven't done Tour de France before. We're going to play Pro Leader mode, and this is like the Pro Cyclist mode in Pro Cycling Manager. And of course, I know most of my audience, you are coming from there. You're coming from Pro Cycling Manager to check this one out with me. So let's go ahead and enjoy this journey together. Just like the Pro Cyclist mode, we're going to have some career objectives to follow. And even though I'm not good at the game yet, I'm going to go ahead and play on Champions level. We're forming our own team. Decathlon Gamer is the team. It's also the name of my rider that I have created. I'm going to go ahead and go with the mountain specialty, but there's no secondary specialty on this one. You just get a primary specialty and then you develop from there. I have an American rider, standard height, and we get just a little bit of an edge to that basic setup. So I'm going to be a 64.1 rating overall with a 64 mountain, a 63 downhill as my highest ratings starting out. Recovery is a D. We start really low, but we do have some objectives that we begin with, and most of that is as a Barradour, as a breakaway rider early on. And so that's what we're going to need to do in our first race. Speaking of our first race, we begin with our calendar for the year. There's not that many races in a season for this game. It's not like Pro Cycling Manager where you have a ton on the calendar. We have a limited set of races. In fact, we're only scheduled to do 3 in our opening season. A couple 3-stagers and a 4-stage race. That's it for the whole year, or like a 5-stage race, I think it is. So 11 stages makes up the entire year. Well, we get to set up our fitness peaks. Otherwise, the training is much more simplified compared to Pro Cycling Manager. And you can see we get 2 setups 4 weeks apart, or
Hi
3
guys.
weeks in between,
Welcome
or
to the
3
briefing
months
for this
sorry,
first
in
stage.
between.
The main thing to grasp
And
today is that the route is
2.
flat and it harbors no particular difficulties. A sprint finish is more than likely. We don't have what it takes to be in the final sprint. If we want to make a showing, we'll have to be in the early breakaway. Have a good stage.
2 of our races
Hello,
are going to fit
everyone.
into that window.
The
So 2 of
sprinters
the
are
3,
likely to have
that's not
ambitions
bad.
of victory
We'll be down for
today,
the other, but we
but it
get
can't be
that
taken for
fitness peak
granted.
bonuses.
They'll have to
That
stay
includes
tough
this
on the
first
Col
race.
de la Jeunesse or see their hopes evaporate.
All right, here we go right away into our first race. Now, for this, I'm going to do a whole lot of sped up gameplay because it's very long. It's very lengthy. Unlike Pro Cycling Manager where you have that 10-to-1 scale, here we're looking more like a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 scale. It's much closer. It's much tighter. So my initial objective was be in the break, and with a basic sprint stage with a little climb right at the end, that makes perfect sense. It's a good day to get into the break. Also, if you haven't seen the first look, you'll quickly recognize that the gameplay here is set up totally as a system where you're in control of your rider. You see right away I make a
good
huge
ruler,
mistake on that
he
one.
doesn't really
I
have
have to control the braking, I have to control the cornering, and I overshot that corner pretty bad just as my fellow breakaway rider, Siskavicius, gets to me and goes around me, and then I lose contact with him almost immediately. I end up having to use the sprint quite a while later to get him back in range, but I do so, we're back together, and now I'm in my first ever breakaway. We're out to a 2-minute gap. It's just the 2 of us. 148 riders make up the peloton behind, and I have my own team for this, which is really cool. DG, Decathlon Gamer, that's us. And here we go for a second time, big tight corner, and I overshoot it and actually hit the guardrail. I don't fall off the bike, fortunately, but I do lose some ground. And so just as I get back into position, I lose them again. So 3rd time's the charm, right? This time, I'm just going to go ahead and lock in and use the follow feature where I don't have to control steering, I don't have to control the pedals, I don't have to control the bike. I just get to sit on. So this time, now in position, we're going to go ahead and speed things up for a while as we cruise along and look to recover. Now, speaking of recover, that circular gauge in the middle of the screen is crazy, crazy important in this game. Okay, the yellow that's hovering up and down a little bit, teetering, that's pedal power. That's the immediate effort that we are dishing out. That's how hard we're pedaling. Okay, the blue is your stamina, and it's going to fade over time. You can recoup some of that, but only some. A lot of that will disappear as the race goes on. And we'll see. I'll try to point it out when I get into a stage where I'm expending but can recover a bit of that, because right now it's just that gradual decline of it's not going to return on the day. Now, the red bar is your attack bar. So that's your immediate short spurts of energy where you're able to output. And we're coming up on our very first ever sprint. Let's see what we can do. Now, remember, I'm a horribly, horribly weak rider. But we're going to hit this intermediate sprint. It's going to give me some details on how to do that, but I bypassed that. And right now, we're sitting on the wheel. We are coming up on that intermediate sprint, though, quite shortly here. And we'll see what we can do. Right now, we're in the slipstream. Right now, we're conserving that energy, ready to go. We've got a big 90-degree right-hand turn here. I'm going to take that turn, thinking about going immediately, but... Okay, there's the 1K banner. Gotta wait. Now we go. Now we attack. Push, push, push. I'm attacking. I'm going beyond full pedal, using the attack button, going max.
The breakaway is losing ground.
He is in cruise mode. Well, okay, he's not in cruise mode. He's in sprint mode, but his sprint is so much faster than mine. We claim second. We don't win the sprint, but we're gonna push way forward from here to the later stages. We have 2 hills, one categorized, one not. And this is that stretch. You could see that right now, the pace that he is setting is taking a lot out of me. My stamina is decreasing quite quickly as we go up this hill, and now I'm down to like 15% as we go over the top. And then unfortunately, on the descent, I'm expecting to recover, and that's not happening. That's not happening at all at the moment, as I'm actually just stuck with this scenario of he's pushing, and he's pushing hard. So
last time checked with a
at this
breakaway,
point, he hits this corner really fast, and it leads me to lose enough distance. He gets about 6 bike lengths away, and that follow just disengages in the middle of a corner, and I go straight into crashing. So nothing I can do about it. It's so immediate, and I'm done for. So he rides. He's 21 seconds away from me now. You can see as we begin this climb, the categorized one and the final climb of the day, I'm now half a minute behind and drifting further back and out of stamina. 5K to go from the top, and here comes the peloton. I get swallowed up. Things level off. It gets much easier from here on the climb, but I've got no energy. So in order to not blow up, I'm having to ride at what pace I can manage, which is much slower than the peloton. And you can see just everyone, rider after rider, cruising away from me on the climb. They all had energy. I don't, and they're able to push on. Maurice goes over the top first, so it wasn't even the guy I was riding with, Siska Vicious. And so as we go down the descent, I've got almost no energy, and I'm right at the back of the peloton. Right at the back. We get to the bottom of the hill, things start to level off as we approach the sprint finish, and I've got no energy left. I'm pushing right down. I'm totally out of stamina, but I've got that little bit of red bar, and the field, I have to let go. Field rides away from me, so I'm going to approach the finish of my first ever stage and finish literally in dead last, just missing the peloton after spending the day in the
Ladies and gentlemen,
it was unfortunate, but
welcome
that is the circumstances of our first ever race. I'm incredibly weak, and then on top of it, I'm playing on the second hardest difficulty, even though I'm brand new to the game, because I'm trying to take my Pro Cycling Manager experience and play that. The one thing I have, though, is the combativity. So the most combative rider, the red number that you get for that one, they've incorporated that into this game.
Hello, cycling fans everywhere. The last
I'm
climb
not
counting
the
to
leader
which
of
the
the
mountain's
classification, though, as
classification may prove
Siskevicius
key in
went on
today's
longer
win.
than I did.
With its
So
summit
this
lying
now
less than
brings
8
us into
kilometers from the
stage
finish,
number
the
2.
punchers will have a golden opportunity to go on the attack and eliminate those riders who are fastest in the sprint.
You can see stage number 2, a lot more punchy, many categorized climbs, though most of them are short. And I'm going to try to break away. And there's already 3 riders up the road, and the moment I take off, I get sucked back in by the peloton. Peloton not interested in having a 4th rider away. I don't think it has anything to do with me. I think that they just feel that 3 riders is perfect. So I try 3 times in all. I can't get off the front, and so eventually I just decide I'm going to sit on the peloton and conserve as much energy as possible and see if I can do something better than finishing last where I finished before. But here again, pace picking up late in the stage. We're in the final third, and I'm doing fine on the energy part. But then chaos ensues for me. The pace really picks up, and the rider that I was following starts to pull away from me because I'm not as good as they are, and so it opens up a little gap. I lose the contact. I crash. But then, this time, after the crash, I don't get up and start riding on right away. The game bugs out a little bit, gets weird on me, and I end up stopping. Full stop. Thought I had crashed out like I was injured like you get in PCM. And eventually, I get into some menus and I pop back out of it, and then it works. But I lose 2 full minutes. So now I'm 2 minutes down on literally every other rider. But riders are spread out all over the place on this punchy stage. And so the rider that I'm 2 minutes behind, like Lepier or whatever, at the end of this, I end up just a minute and a half down on him. So, riding solo all that way, and he's riding solo all that way, but I did make up some ground there. I still end up finishing dead last for the 2nd stage in a row, which is really worrying, but whatever. We'll see if we can do better in stage number 3. And for stage 3, it's a climbing finish, double climbs, but
good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
collectively
Today's
one big
stage should
climb.
be full of suspense.
Plus,
The
very
2 climbs
breezy
placed just before the
crosswinds
finish will enable
as
the
you go over the
fittest
top of that
riders
second
to
climb.
try their luck on a solo win. But they will then have to hold out to the finish, located 8 kilometers after the summit.
Again, my objective being a break. So I'm going to try to move up the field early on here and attack. This time, I'm one of the first riders to get off the front. There's 3 already up. I'm the 4th one getting off the front. But unlike the previous stage, this is a climbing stage, and they're not as worried about the number that get away. So this time I successfully joined the group, and ultimately we end up with 6 in the breakaway, and quite a few big names. So we're going to go ahead and skip forward to the middle part of the stage on this one, and we've got a categorized climb. The first climb, I had no chance of getting a KOM point. That's one of my objectives, as well as I had no attack power left. Getting in the group took all I had, but this time I'm fresh, and I'm riding 2nd wheel as we go up the top. The first climb I noticed that nobody actually attacked. KOM was already locked up because stage 2, there were so many categorized climbs. So here on stage 3, I'm getting near the top, and I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to use a little attack power, but ultimately, I can't leave anybody behind. I'm not strong enough, but I can get first. And because nobody challenges, I win that KOM. So that checks off another objective. And from here, I go back into conserve mode and just ride on. But this group, too strong, too fast. They're maintaining a solid gap as we hit the base of our 2 categorized climbs. I don't have much energy left. I'm nowhere near as good as these guys, so I immediately stop following, knowing that I'm going to blow up very early in the climb if I do. And I just set my pace, set my tempo, and now, this time, I hope like crazy that I can avoid last place. So, Peloton absorbs me pretty soon, and they ride straight on through. But the Peloton was down to 70 riders. And so that means there's a good 75, 80 riders out the back. And that's my hope, is that one by one, I'm going to get absorbed. They're going to pass me up. Here comes a big group, a lot of sprinters. They go on past, but I'm still not last. There's still riders behind me. And now, actually, I've been able to conserve a little bit of energy, and I found a group of sprinters who aren't great climbers, and I've latched onto them. So we got through that first climb. We're into the second climb, and I'm riding with Cockard, and that same guy that I ultimately caught onto, the Lepier guy, is here in this group. So the same guy that I was chasing in stage 2 ends up in the same group as me. But I'm not only in a small group here as we climb, but there's still riders behind me. So feeling pretty good about myself as we go up the second and final climb of my first ever tour, and my goal as I chase down a few riders here, so actually make some progress. But now out of energy, I blow up just a single time there briefly, but I'll be okay. We got 5K to go. It's mostly downhill to the finish. I hang on to some riders. I leave some riders behind. I lose a few riders in front, but I'm cruising towards the finish. The finish is already long gone, but what can I do? I cross the line, and there's 35 riders still to go, meaning I did not finish last. In fact, I end up finishing the stage in 114th position. It's not good. It's nowhere near 150, but it's enough, just enough, to move me up the order. Thomas Decathlon wins the stage. He was from the breakaway, by the way, and hung on. But I finished one spot above last. Paulus wins the overall. Lutsenko moves up to second. Almeida third. So a big trio at the top of the order. But me, 149th out of 150. Max Walscheid ends up dead last, and not me. So I was very, very proud of that. Team classification, we were dead last. But by being in the breakaway for 2 of the 3 stages, the combativity award goes to me. I win the most combative rider. That is going to give me 10 points in classification, individually and for the team, as my teammates earned nothing. And then ultimately, I complete 26 objectives in that 3-stage race, allowing me to progress 11% of the way overall as a rider through just one race. So you can see recovery has gone from a D to a C by finishing 2 objectives. And then I'm going to do the same in cobbles, resistance, stamina, prologue, time trial, downhill. All of that combined adds up to being 11%, which is fantastic, because now I've gone from a 64.1 to a 65.4 overall after just one race completed. I only get 2 more for the year, but that's okay. That was good progress. I crashed in both of the first 2 stages, but I made it through stage 3 in one piece. So I've come a long ways already. I went from dead last in the first 2 stages to not in a great place, but in a tolerable place after stage 3. All right, well, that is going to do it for this first episode and my first dive into the Tour de France game. I'm really excited by this because it's very much up my alley. It fits the channel, of course, as a Pro Cycling Manager player, so there is going to be plenty more to come. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Leave comments below. It's going to help with that algorithm so this series can take off and get out there and more people can see it, because a lot of people don't know about this game. It's pretty cool. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Vax up. Bye for now.